Good morning again, everybody. As you looked at the annual meeting program, you saw this year's theme, the right thing. You can see it emblazoned on the annual meeting booklet you received in the mail. I'm sure some of you looked at it and at first you said, what are they talking about? After you had a chance to look it over, complete with the pictures and events shown, hopefully it made more sense. It's there because as a cooperative, as your cooperative, the right thing is exactly what we attempt to do each and every day. But for me, folks, it has a deeper meaning. When I grew up in Miami, Oklahoma, many, many years ago, I was very blessed to have the best mom and dad a kid could have. My dad, quite honestly, was my hero. Now, Dad had polio when he was a child back in the 1920s, and it would affect the way that he walked and the way he could get around for the rest of his life. But one thing was for sure about my dad, it didn't restrict him from doing anything he wanted to do. I spent my childhood hunting and fishing with him on Grand Lake. He also made it a point to be ready to play catch with me with a baseball or football anytime I asked. And I remember very clearly at an early age being upset about a decision I was facing. My dad gave me two pieces of advice that he would repeat to me hundreds of times. He told me, number one, be a man about it. He told me, number two, son, just do the right thing. Those were always his go-to pieces of advice. And they turned out to be the best advice I ever received. And still today, I'm forever grateful for it. Because today, folks, at 54 years of age, and in my 22nd year of working for you at NEWMAC, it's advice I think about daily. Just do the right thing is what this cooperative is built on. Doing the right thing is reflected in a favorite topic of mine, the 7 cooperative principles. Being owned by the people we serve assures that. Doing the right thing also shows itself in the millions of dollars we spend each year updating our electric services and performing right-of-way maintenance along the power lines. It shows when we help local organizations as they work to meet their goals. It shows when we give scholarships to young people to continue their education. It shows when we send representatives from local high schools to Washington, D.C., and to Jefferson City to help them become our leaders of tomorrow. It reminds me of former football coaching great Lou Holtz, who said, follow 3 rules. Number 1, do the right thing. Number 2, do the best you can. And number 3, always show people you care. Doing the right thing, it's simple. And I want to thank you, Dad, for teaching it to me those many years ago. You know, helping young people learn important values is very important to us here at NEWMAC. Last year, you heard me announce the beginning of the NEWMAC Scholarship Program. And a few months ago, we awarded $500 scholarships to graduating seniors at each high school in our service area. We also sent a high school student to Jefferson City this year as part of our statewide Co-op Association's Cycle program. Our winner, Sarah Hill from Seneca, joined other students from around the state, helping better understand how government and electric cooperatives work together. And on an even bigger scale, for the first time ever, we joined with hundreds of other co-ops around this country to send a local high school student to the National Cooperative Youth Tour in Washington, D.C. Lainey Ogle from Sarcoxy was selected to participate, and she has put together a short video of her experiences I would like to share with you.
Hi, I'm Lainey Ogle from Sarcoxy High School. I was selected to represent NEWMAC on the 2016 Youth Tour trip. I would like to share this video of my experiences with you. It all started with a banquet and orientation at the Capitol Plaza Hotel in Jefferson City. Here I got to meet the other 102 delegates from Missouri. I had no idea that some of those strangers would end up being the best people I've ever met. The following morning, we loaded the bus and headed to the airport in St. Louis. Once we landed in Washington, D.C., we settled into our hotel, then started the tour. First, we visited the Franklin Roosevelt, Martin Luther King, Jefferson, and Air Force memorials. The next day, we went to the Iwo Jima, Washington, World War II, Vietnam, Korean, and Lincoln memorials, as well as the Smithsonian museums. That night, we went on a sunset cruise on the Potomac River. Following that day, we went to the Arlington National Cemetery, where we got to witness the changing of the guards at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldiers. We then went to Ford's Theater, where we learned about the assassination of President Lincoln. That evening was the first Youth Tour Day event, where we met delegates from other states and learned about the importance of electric cooperatives. On Tuesday, we visited the Museum of News, the Pentagon City Mall, George Washington's home, and then attended a Washington Nationals baseball game. We spent the next day at Capitol Hill, where we got to meet our congressional representatives and go to the Library of Congress, Supreme Court, and Union Station. That night was the All-States Dinner and Dance, where we danced our last night in D.C. away. Thursday morning, we headed back to Missouri. Saying our goodbyes was a bittersweet moment. I was sad about having to leave all the new friends I had made, but I was so inspired by meeting them and sharing all of these experiences with them. The youth tour allowed me to see things I could have never seen and meet people I will never forget. I would like to thank you, NUMAC, for sending me on a trip of a lifetime. It was an experience I will never forget.
What an amazing experience that young lady had. Please pass the word to any area high school students you know and encourage them to submit an essay in the competition for next year's youth tour. You may also remember another of the educational initiatives we introduced last year called NUMAC University. Several of you have talked to me about it this morning. We offer free courses several times a year open to any of our members on topics such as understanding your electric usage and controlling energy costs. Be sure and watch the co-op newsletter for details about the next course. You know, these programs are all great examples of Principle 5 from the 7 cooperative principles that we follow, providing education, training, and information. Or as Dad would say, doing the right thing. Now here's another example of doing the right thing. As you know, since NUMAC is owned by you, the members, when our revenues exceed operating expenses, the co-op has the option to pay back to our members what are called capital credit refunds. We've done that for 18 straight years. And guess what? Let's make that 19 straight years. Yes, once again, this year, we are paying you capital credit refunds. Many of you have picked up your capital credit checks when you registered this morning. This year, we are paying back capital credits that total nearly $1.25 million. That represents 30% of the margins from 1998 and will go to members from that year. Now, I've got some more good news this morning that you don't know about. On the bills that come out in December, just in time for Christmas, we're going to be giving a one-time power cost adjustment, a PCA, of $250,000. This adjustment will show up as a credit on your bills and will be based on November usage. So I'm going to cover it again. Nearly $1.25 million in capital credit retirements and a $250,000 power cost adjustment. Now, folks, that's 19 straight years of capital credits and or power cost adjustments amounting to total payments to members of $23 million. That's an average. That's an average of more than $1 million a year. I'm very proud of that. Now, while we're talking about financial information, here's an update from our power suppliers, Associated Electric in Springfield and Camo Power in Veneta. Now, as you know, NUMAC has received wholesale power rate increases several times in the past few years. Associated continues to have to pay rising costs to meet environmental regulations, to ship coal via the railroads, and to maintain aging power plants, which are becoming more expensive to keep up. Also, Associated's margins on sales of electricities in the open market have been falling because competing low natural gas prices. So for next year, and it's still a bit too early to say absolutely for sure what our rates will be, but I will say, however, and this is really big news, folks, listen to this. We're going to do everything in our power to not raise your rates through a general rate increase in 2017. Year after year, I've stood on this stage and I've made you a promise, and I'm going to do it again right now. We will not raise your rates until we absolutely have no other choice. Now, we'll know the details as we go through our budget process in December. And as always, we'll be totally open with you, and we'll give you final details about the 2017 rates in the co-op newsletter next January. So that's 2017. We're all real happy about that. I want to go forward to 2018, not 17, but 18, and tell you what I think that looks like. Quite honestly, 2018 doesn't look bright. We do expect to see our wholesale rates go up sharply. And as they go up, we have no choice, but our rates will have to follow. And we do expect to have a rate increase in 2018, not 17, 18. In the annual meeting material you received is your copy of the co-op financial report. In it, you'll see that NUMAC had another solid financial year. The annual report for 2015 shows NUMAC had more than $39 million in total revenues, net margins at nearly $3.5 million, and operating margins at almost $2.3 million. Total co-op assets are now more than $110 million. Also, at these annual meetings, I always like to keep you up to date about environmental issues. Now, from a totally bipartisan standpoint, you probably already know that the upcoming presidential election will be key as to what direction environmental issues will go into the future. Historically, you've heard me report that Associated has already spent well over $1.2 billion, and that's billion with a B, over the last 20 years, and has achieved a 90% reduction in power plant emissions. In addition, more and more of our electricity now comes from renewable energy sources. For example, in 2015, wind power farms in Missouri, Oklahoma, and Kansas supplied 12% of our members' needs, and hydropower provided another 8% of their electricity. In addition, currently Associated has over 400 agreements for distributed generation, mostly solar power arrays. Now, it's clear that the world of renewable energy continues to grow and will into the future, which raises a question that we're all concerned about, and that is, how can we make our renewable energy policies fair for all members around the state, both those who participate and use renewable energy and those who do not? Now, maybe you've seen the booth in the back, the Fairness Down the Lines booth in the back of the gym. We must be fair so that all co-op members share in the cost of the backbone infrastructure of the electric utility system, because we all use it to get our electricity. And that's what Fairness Down the Lines means. Now, folks, this past year we've been again very fortunate that we've had very few bad storms and major outages. We work hard to stay prepared by keeping our power lines free of trees and brush. To help us do that, this year we bought a new side trimmer that's called a Giraffe, which by itself cost us over $200,000. In fact, this year we'll spend the most we've ever spent on right-of-way brush clearing along the power lines, almost $2.5 million. You know, the inventor Thomas Edison once said, "There's no substitute for hard work." And our crews know that, and they've had a very productive year. But you know, the most important thing we accomplish each year is we work safely, while we also make sure our electric system operates safely. Over and above anything else we accomplish, I'm very proud of our employee safety record. Now, I'd like to show you a brief video that highlights all the work we performed in this past year, which was put together and narrated by our own Josh King.
Providing our members with the best possible service is the right thing to do. That starts with providing system reliability, Keeping the lights on for over 17,000 member accounts takes a lot of work. This past year, we performed 25 miles worth of single-phase upgrades near Surcoxie and Ritchie. We inspected and replaced poles around Sweetwater and Neosho, and converted 4 miles of single-phase conductor to 3-phase near Longview. We also continued to install new meters that will aid in faster outage restoration in the future. Those installations took place at locations served by the Wheaton, Anderson, Sims, Caverna, Jane, and Saratoga substations. Of course, keeping trees out of power lines is essential to reliable service. We never stop maintaining our right-of-way, especially considering we serve rural areas and have nearly 3,000 miles of line. In this effort, we added a new all-terrain tree trimmer known as the Giraffe, which allows us to phase out one of our 20-year-old trimmers. In addition to hitting trouble spots throughout the system, we performed feeder clearing of circuits near Carthage, Reeds, Wheaton, and Sweetwater. Additionally, we worked to keep right-of-ways clear with low-volume spraying. Most importantly, we accomplished all of this while working safely, because at Numac Electric, safety always comes first. Technology continues to streamline our day-to-day work, and not only are we becoming more and more digital, so are our members. Over half of our accounts are now signed up with SmartHub. Through this online resource accessible at numac.com or with the app for smartphones and tablets, a wealth of resources are available. You can pay your bill, monitor usage trends, look at historical account data, compare bills from various time periods, and much more. Nearly 1,000 of our accounts are now paperless and receive bills each month electronically. Another convenience continuing to grow in popularity is our automated pay-by-phone line, which is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And with additional billing services such as auto withdrawal for checking accounts and auto charge for credit or debit cards, it's never been easier to pay your electric bill. As you can see, there's a lot that goes on with your cooperative, but really, it all comes down to one thing. That's doing the right thing for you.
You know, we've really been able to accomplish a lot this year, and I think it's clear that your Numac employees deserve our appreciation. Will all the employees please stand? Let's give them a round of applause. Folks, it's an honor to work with this great group of employees. Just like at other electric co-ops around the country, our employees follow a set core of values that you've heard me talk about before. It's what we call the 7 cooperative principles. I go over them every year at this meeting, and I want to again this year. They are voluntary and open membership to all customers, democratic control by you, the customer member, economic participation by each customer, autonomy and independence, providing education, training, and information, cooperation among cooperatives, and lastly, concern for community. Just like Dad would say, doing the right thing. Those 7 cooperative principles also help guide the decisions made by your Numac Electric Board of Directors. For their hard work and dedication, I think we need to recognize your Board of Directors. Once again, I'd like to say thanks to the great folks here at Crowder who work very hard each and every year to make this day happen. Oh, and by the way, here's some more thanks to you, our members. And I've been wanting to tell you about this all morning. Earlier this year, our members were surveyed about their satisfaction with Numac Electric's service. Many of you received one of those survey phone calls. And I'm proud to say, thanks to you, among the 49 co-ops surveyed in Missouri, in Oklahoma, and Iowa, our members rated Numac Electric the 2nd highest in co-op satisfaction. Now, we use the American Customer Satisfaction Index, which is a 100-point satisfaction scale, and we scored an 87. And folks, that's higher than the satisfaction given to the big boys, people like Apple Computers, Coca-Cola, Walmart. We even scored higher than Cadillac. I got to tell you, when I heard that, I couldn't have been more proud, and I want to thank you for that vote of confidence. Now, in closing, I want to thank each and every one of you for coming to your annual meeting. Please remember my dad's words. Do the right thing. Words to live by. What your cooperative is built on. And in fact, it's the same principle that built our great nation. And as I look back on the memories and I think about my dad, I realize how smart of a guy he really was. So thanks again, Dad. I will always remember your advice. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.